The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
We stand ready to surge capability in as quickly as possible.
This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. Tonight, the U.S. military standing by to step in as the world watches the catastrophic scenes out of Los Angeles. 5 so far confirmed dead, flames spreading across California's largest city and county, a region home to some 17 million people. Powerful winds fueling what has been named the most destructive wildfire in LA's history, as officials now warn the worst is yet to come. And take a look at this. This is a map that shows you the 5 active fires in Los Angeles. 2 of these, Lydia Fire and the Sunset Fire, cropped up just yesterday, but those are relatively small when compared to the devastating Palisades fire, which has now burned more than 17,000 acres and is still at this hour 0% contained. The Eaton Fire near Pasadena, also large in size, having now burned over 10,000 acres and 0% contained. Fire officials say there's one glimmer of hope. Winds have subsided slightly today, something they will try and take advantage of. But so many families already grieving what's been lost. This is a home of one LA couple who shared with CNN their heartbreak after seeing memories charred and a financial lifeline gone.
This is where our son was born. This was our house, and this was what we worked for. This was what we were going to use to retire. That was our investment.
FEMA says it's officially been authorized to begin helping people recover, with more than 1,100 at this point structures now destroyed.
I don't know how many of those are homes that have been impacted, but we know that there's several hundred potentially homes, if not more than that, that are probably destroyed, if not having significant smoke damage. And so we know that there's going to be lots of families that are going to be in great need.
Tonight, AccuWeather predicts the devastating wildfires burning up Southern California will cost at least $52 billion when it comes to damages and economic losses. For perspective, the 2023 fires in Maui, that cost about $13 billion. So we're talking about significantly more. Tonight, concern deepening for California homeowners with an insurance crisis possibly on the horizon. National correspondent Matt Gelko reports on the increasing difficulties for homeowners in climate disaster areas.
I don't think there's anything that I've ever seen quite like it. And the insurance companies are going to have a big problem because you're talking about big, big dollars.
Before the fires are even out, there is worry over California's fragile insurance market. Some big names like State Farm and Allstate, among others, have consistently cut homeowners insurance coverage in the Golden State since 2017.
So the main thing driving our current situation with insurance is the fact that we're starting to see more severe and more frequent climate events and weather disasters in a way that we just haven't in the past.
Jeremy Porter heads climate implications research for the nonprofit First Street Foundation, a group assessing climate risks around the country. He says companies and rates haven't kept up with increasingly catastrophic events like the California wildfires or hurricanes that have recently hit places like Florida and North Carolina. It can put every policyholder or even taxpayer on the hook.
They're going to seek to make up that money somewhere, whether that's an overhead cost, whether it's raising rates just in high risk areas, or whether they spread that out a little bit over their entire pool of insurance policyholders. It can impact people.
California has a state insurer of last resort for homeowners without coverage known as the FAIR Plan, and a large chunk of policyholders reside in the hard-hit Pacific Palisades, according to Bloomberg. Early damage estimates are at $10 billion or more, a number that would severely strain the already stretched system.
The cost of the built environment has gone up, and the risk associated from things like weather events we're seeing today have gone up. And our ability to bring all those into appropriate rate in California is just very challenging.
And Amira, California recently made tweaks to their insurance system meant to get more private insurers back into the market by allowing them to set rates based on possible future catastrophes. Now, it could provide more coverage, but that could come at a premium price.
And Matt, you mentioned taxpayers. Do you mean people who might not even live anywhere close to the disaster zones that we're talking about here?
Yeah, and it could be twofold. In places where there are state insurers like California or Florida, and a big fire or a hurricane comes along, essentially it drains the piggy bank for those claims, and then premiums for everyone in that plan, likely go up, raising the cost of living. And then you go to the federal level. If and when FEMA has to come in and Congress has to allocate more disaster relief funds, that's the taxpayer dollar too. Wow, so many tough realities awaiting Californians right now. Thank you so much, Matt Gelka out of D.C. for us. A major winter storm is beginning its eastward trek across the south with snow already on the ground in Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Severe winter weather forecast to cover over 1,400 miles by the weekend as unusually cold temperatures grip much of the country. Some areas could get up to 7 inches of snow. The storm is severely disrupting travel right now in the Dallas, Texas area, with most flights disrupted there. There have been multiple car and truck accidents in both Texas and Oklahoma. Cities including McAlester, Oklahoma, have opened warming centers to help residents.
There are organizations in the community who have come forward and supplied us with clothes and crates and cages for dog food. Restaurants have supplied hot food and meals. This is most definitely a community event.
A rare sight. All 5 living presidents, as well as their vice presidents, gathered today at the National Cathedral in Maryland for former President Jimmy Carter's funeral. It is rare when this group comes together, the last time being President George H.W. Bush's funeral in 2018. President Biden, the First Lady, Vice President Harris, and the second gentleman were seated in the first row at former President Carter's funeral. Seated behind them were President-elect Trump and former President Barack Obama. Those 2 men, by the way, sharing a lengthy conversation that did appear friendly. President Biden gave the eulogy honoring his longtime friend.
I miss him, but I take solace in knowing that he and his beloved Rosalind are reunited again. And to the entire Carter family, thank you, and I mean this sincerely, for sharing them both with America and the world.
Also included was a message from longtime political rival Gerald Ford, who died back in 2006. Ford left a written eulogy as the two promised to give eulogies at each other's funerals. Steve Ford, Gerald's son, delivered it.
By fate of a brief season, Jimmy Carter and I were rivals. But for the many wonderful years that followed, friendship bonded us as no 2 presidents since John Adams and Thomas Jefferson.
Carter defeated Ford in the 1976 election. The 39th president died last week at the age of 100. He was the longest living president in U.S. history. President-elect Donald Trump is still scheduled to be sentenced tomorrow for his 34 felony convictions of falsifying business records in regards to the Stormy Daniels hush money case. New York State's highest court rejected Trump's appeal to postpone sentencing until after his second term as president. The Supreme Court could still stop that sentencing, but the Supreme Court has yet to weigh in. SCOTUS will also take up TikTok's challenge tomorrow of the law that would ban the popular social media app from operating in the United States unless they divest from their Chinese-backed parent company ByteDance. The deadline to sell is January 19th, and TikTok says they are prepared to completely shut down if the court does not intervene. President-elect Trump has asked the court to delay the deadline so he can make a proper deal with ByteDance to satisfy the law and TikTok's American users. Abortion is once again legal across the state of New Mexico. The state Supreme Court just ruled against abortion restrictions some cities and counties had put in place. Attorneys for those areas had argued a federal law prevents courts from blocking local abortion laws, but the justices said it's illegal for cities and counties to restrict abortion. President Biden's Title IX redefinition has been struck down by a federal district court in Kentucky. Last April, Biden announced a change in the definition of sex in the Title IX rules to include gender identity, requiring schools across the country to allow biological males identify as girls to play in girls' sports. Today, the court ruled that change was arbitrary and impulsive and that the Department of Education acted outside of its authority. The ruling applies nationwide. The Air Force is investigating how an F-16 fighter jet fuel tank fell into a Florida neighborhood. A 500-pound tank landed just a few feet from a home after it detached from a jet on Tuesday. Officials say nobody was hurt. The neighborhood is near Eglin Air Force Base. Locals say the area smelled of fuel. A man who lives in the neighborhood says his house shook.
It really sounded like that, like, boom, like boom, boom, until like the foundation, and you can just hear everything just shake and just be startled. And so that was pretty scary.
And base officials say it's not clear if the tank was carrying fuel at the time. A nearly 2-week strike by workers at the country's largest ski resort is now over. The Park City Ski Patrol Union in Utah reached an agreement with the Park City Mountain. The starting wage for a ski patroller will stay at $21 an hour, but there will be additional pay increases based on skills. Skiers and snowboarders say they're happy the strike is over.
Good, hooray, all right, well that's great. That's good news for everybody.
A Colombian man living illegally in Ohio has agreed to plead guilty to possessing 170 firearms. Court documents said Carlos Serrano Restrepo reported on the federal firearm forms that he was a citizen and not an alien in the country on a visa. He told the court he last entered the country without authorization in 2008 and filed an asylum application, which is now pending. Serrano Restrepo faces 15 years in prison, and a sentencing date has not yet been set. The Lake and Riley Act, named after the Georgia student killed by a Venezuelan migrant last year, passed a major procedural hurdle in the Senate today, passing a filibuster vote 84-9. This allows further debate on the bill and possibly amendments.
The Republican leader, Senator Thune, said he wants to make the Senate a place, quote, where all members should have a chance to make their voices heard, unquote. Well, this bill would be a fine place to start.
Another Senate vote needing 60 votes could come as early as Monday. It's unclear if enough Democrats will still support the legislation. But if signed into law, the act would give Immigration and Customs Enforcement the authority to detain undocumented immigrants charged with nonviolent crimes. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance is resigning from the Senate effective tonight at midnight, according to CNN. Vance will be sworn in as vice president on January 20th. Governor Mike DeWine has not yet said who will replace Vance, but CNN has reported that Lieutenant Governor John Husted is a leading contender. Coming up, the toxic substances found in many brands of protein powder and the specific flavor that you may want to avoid. Then we will take you to Las Vegas, where the most cutting-edge new technology is on display at an annual trade show. And later, caught on camera, the dramatic rescue of a man stuck on a snowy railroad right before a train comes by. We're back in just 90 seconds. Welcome back. We continue to follow the wildfire devastation that's ravaging Southern California right now, with more fires breaking out. Roughly 180,000 people across several counties in the Los Angeles area now under evacuation orders. And you can see the 5 active fires right here on your screen. One fire was put out yesterday, the Woodley fire, so that's been contained, but 2 more have since popped up. The largest of them is the Palisades fire. The National News Desk's Kristen Drummond is right outside its perimeter with a homeowner who's trying to make it back to his home to get some last-minute keepsakes.
It's really disheartening. I mean, our family's in tears. The community's in tears. I mean, this is devastating. It's never going to be the same. I'm never going to be able to show my kids where I grew up. It's all gone. It's all gone.
It has been all gone. Thank you so much, Sam. We've been driving around the neighborhoods, homes completely demolished, maybe a chimney stack that's even left. I want to show you some more of this damage. So again, all the power is out here. You can see these trees have burned. You can even see over here, this tree just completely charred and black. The smoke right now so thick and heavy. Ash is falling all around us. We are still going to be out here covering the latest with this wildfire that has completely it's completely heartbroken this community, as you heard from Sam, who's just trying to get back to his home. Sounds like their house is still there, just wanting to retrieve whatever he can, because this is a very active situation, so something could turn and change at any given point in time.
That was Kristen Drummond reporting. And tonight, one silver lining for those impacted by the wildfire. Several companies offering discounted services to residents there. That includes rides to evacuation shelters from Uber and Lyft, unlimited talk, text, and data from AT&T and Verizon. Planet Fitness offering evacuees and first responders free access to their facilities, including showers, locker rooms, and Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, 211 LA has partnered with Airbnb to offer free temporary housing for people displaced from their homes. The help coming as concerns grow for victims, many of which have been dropped from their private fire insurance policies in recent years. Stay with us as we continue to follow the devastating impacts on this catastrophic blaze, both on air and online at the nationaldesk.com. The U.S. is sending another $500 million in security aid to Ukraine. It is the final package before President Biden leaves office. It includes air defense missiles, air-to-ground munitions, and F-16 fighter jet equipment.
Over the past few years, we've moved heaven and earth to get Ukraine the security assistance that it needs. And together, we've committed more than $122 billion worth of security assistance and expanded factories around the world. Here is the fundamental truth. Ukraine's fight matters to all of us.
The appetite for continued support is significantly lower with Republicans. President-elect Trump wants a brokered end to the war. Taking a look at your money, mortgage rates are almost 7% at this point. That's according to Freddie Mac. The average 30-year mortgage rate jumped for the 4th week in a row from 6.91% to 6.93%. This week, as of yesterday. The rise relates to the Fed's cautious approach to rate cuts this year due in part to persistent inflation. Tomorrow's jobs report will give us more insight into potential rate cuts. Protein powder can contain high levels of lead and cadmium. That's according to a new report from the Clean Label Project that tested 70 protein powder brands and found concerning amounts in many of them. The brands weren't named, but the highest levels were in plant-based, organic, and chocolate-flavored powders. No amount of lead is safe, and cadmium can cause cancer. People from around the world are in Las Vegas right now for the annual tech trade show called CES, run by the Consumer Technology Association. Thousands of exhibitions are showcasing cutting-edge gadgets, including a humanoid robot, an AI-powered smart cane that detects obstacles, a hyper-realistic puppy, and an autonomous lawnmower. The National News Desk's Dana Wagner shows us another futuristic item from the show.
CES is huge. In fact, in this one convention center, it's a mile long from one end to the other, and you never know what you're going to walk upon, including this thing. What is it? They say it flies like a drone, but it's big enough for a human pilot. You actually do not need a pilot's license to fly this. It has 3 rotors, so it can fly straight up to a height of 1,400 feet. It'll go 150 miles an hour, and it'll fly for 30 minutes on one charge. And joining us now is the brainchild behind this prototype. It's David Simchon.
Yes, sir.
This is called the Manta A, and who would buy the Manta A and why?
Yeah, so with its ability to take off and land in the water, this is mainly designed for yacht enthusiasts.
So this is people who have a yacht and want to get from the boat to land.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And this thing also lands and takes off in water, has sonar to scare away the sharks as well. This thing retails for $300,000, and it's going to be on the market, available to you next month. Reporting from CES in Las Vegas, I'm Dana Wagner.
Dana, thank you. This just in, Kroger will pay $110 million to settle an opioids lawsuit. Kentucky sued the grocer, claiming it fulfilled more than 400 million doses of opioid prescriptions between 2006 and 2019 without providing guidelines to prevent abuse. Kroger says its pharmacists were given robust training on opioids distribution. The money will fund addiction programs in the state. Coming up, the action a Seattle man is taking following a severe injury he blames on the design of a bike lane. We'll be right back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we begin in Washington with concerns about a dangerous bike lane.
He doesn't know that's dangerous. Look at him. He didn't even look. He doesn't know it's dangerous.
Ariel Hardy says it happens all the time.
They're picking up speed, right? He's flying down. He thinks he's safe. He could have got killed right here.
Close calls between cyclists and drivers.
These cyclists all day long scream. I hear them scream.
This was the spot where a car turned in front of cyclist Aviv Litov last summer. He suffered a traumatic brain injury and has what his lawyers describe as life-altering injuries. He's now suing the city of Seattle, saying this 2019 redesign of the bike lane put him and other cyclists at greater risk. The lawsuit says putting parked cars as a barrier also blocks the view of drivers.
Gillen and Public Works employee Ross Wilmuth found a car trying to get up a hill with no luck. They tried getting the driver to take a different route when the car drove over the train tracks.
I don't think so. We kind of paused for a second to see if they were going to be able to safely clear when all of a sudden the gates started to come down and the bells and lights came on. I ain't making it. Oh, are you kidding me?
We didn't have any time to look or do anything. We just needed to move the vehicle off the track.
Go, 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 hammer it!
I know from experience that typically I've got about 15 to 20 seconds before the train hits the crossing.
I followed him up onto the tracks. He got behind the car, started to push. I came up on the next push, and it took two or three pushes before the car started to gain traction and was able to clear the tracks.
And just seconds later,
The sinkhole all began on January 3rd when Public Works road crews say they received a call
from our Garberville crew. A report of a sinkhole was happening at the Telegraph Creek Road at postmark 2.2 near the Water District treatment plant.
Based off what the engineers have found, they believe the sinkhole was caused by an aging culvert along with the recent heavy rainfall.
The culvert supports the structure of the road, and as it's aging and all the pressure with the water pushing through, it created the road to sink.
Currently, Telegraph Road is blocked off until further notice.
Coming up, what to watch for in the first college football playoff semifinal kicking off tonight in the first year of the new playoff system. We'll be right back. Kicking off in just about an hour, the first college football playoff semifinal between the 7th-seeded Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the 6th-seeded Penn State Nittany Lions. Tomorrow, Texas plays Ohio State. The winners of those games will play on January 20th for the title, and this is the first year of the expanded playoff system with 12 teams. None of the top 4 seeds did advance to the semifinals. And take a look at this. A bull elk in Colorado rescued after getting tangled in rope near an ice wall. Colorado Parks and Wildlife officers got the call, and they were able to tranquilize the elk before they got to work cutting the rope away. They then helped bring the animal down and reversed the tranquilizers. Once the elk was awake, he ran off down the canyon, free at last. And that does it for this edition of the National News Desk. Join us again this evening for the latest on those LA wildfires, with more on evacuations and first responders' efforts to battle those flames, still 0% contained. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.